Hey everybody, Mrs. Vance here. We are ready to put our final touches on our Britto cat and dog. I already kind of experimented and tested to make sure it would work first, and it did, so you can kind of see what we're going to go for. Now, normally when we're in the classroom, we'd use what I call my bingo daubers. They're these little tiny jars that we fill with India ink. Ink is like, think of it like loose Sharpie ink. It's permanent black ink. And basically it has that round dauber on it like you would think of like marking a bingo card. And we basically just trace everything. And it's really simple, easy, and it's an effective way to get a nice, bold black outline just like Romero Britto does with his paint. So we are actually going to use paint. We're going to use our watercolor paint. We're only going to use our black. Our black watercolor paint can be really nice and rich, so that's what we're going to use. But you most likely are having the same issue I am with a little bit of curling in your paper. Now this happens because markers have moisture to them, and as we know from painting, moisture causes our papers to curl up. So if you're having issues with this, there's a couple different things you can do. So if my paper is curling up, I can flip to the back side and sort of curl it the opposite direction a little bit. I don't want to bend it, I'm curling it. And that helps kind of flatten everything back out. So that worked pretty good on that one. I used a thinner paper on this one just to see if it would work. And I had my daughter help me color it. She's in 3rd grade this year. So she helped me color in my dog example because she loves dogs. So if curling doesn't seem to work for you, you can grab some masking tape and carefully kind of put it on your, this is Scotch tape, but that's what I have handy, but you would want to take that masking tape and kind of dab it on your clothes for a little bit to take away a lot of the sticky. If you don't take away the sticky, it is going to hurt your paper, so you do need to be careful about using tape. But you could use like a tape bubble and put it behind your corners as you're working, just to give you a nice flatter surface. That's completely up to you, but the curling of the paper should work just fine so that we can get started. All right, so we are going to take our watercolor brush. I have a clean thing of water, and I'm using just my black paint. We're not playing with anything else. We are using our black paint as a replacement for a thick Sharpie or a thick bingo dauber. So all I'm going to do is take my wet brush, and I'm going to moisten the top of my watercolor paints. I probably will not need any more water than what I've already put down. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I am going to trace over everything I have. So I'm going to actually start with my dog. And I'm going to go around. And if you notice it's really watery, then kind of get rid of some of that water off of your brush. Maybe grab a paper towel. But I'm using just the tip of my brush, gently sliding my hand and tracing over all of those outline areas that I want to get. Now, I do need to kind of think about the background a little bit, and where do I want there to be black lines, and where do I not want there to be black lines. If your watercolor is looking kind of gray, you can always go over it a second time. But be careful not to like kind of brush your hand across. You do need to be careful because it will smudge. It is wet. Coming in here. Closing that off. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a few of my line breaks in the background. Looks like I forgot over here, so I got to do the back side of my dog and his hind legs. Other side, left side. Oops, I just smeared a little bit, so you definitely need to be patient and take your time. Because I just smeared right there. You can see it in that toe. Now, if your paint starts to feel kind of sticky or dry as you go to get some, then you will need to add a little bit of water, but be very, very, very light on adding more water. Once the paint is activated, it should last you a while, because we want it to be nice and black. We don't want it to be see-through at all. It looks like I've got a couple more spots to do. I'm going to be very careful going around the collar that I made for my dog. the bone. There we go. And let's see, I should probably trace the collar itself so it pops out. And then I want you to kind of stand back once you think you've gone around everything and ask yourself, is there anywhere else that could really benefit by using that black outline? That's completely up to you and your project. I'm going to grab just a little bit more black, and I'm going to make, I'm going to make sure it's wet enough, get my paint re-wet. And I'm just going to use the tip of my brush to make these tiny polka dots that I put in the muzzle area. Okay, so again, you can ask yourself, do I need anything else anywhere else on my painting? It looks like I forgot one thing. I forgot the bottom of the mouth here. Okay, and then you can double check and look and make sure everything looks black enough. If it doesn't, you can go back over it and trace it one more time, and that will help make something a little darker, richer, etc., etc. Okay, so I think my dog is done. I'm going to go carefully put him off to the side to let him dry. So same thing with our cat. Want to make sure that I'm using nice black opaque watercolor paint. I'm starting at the top, and I'm going to really try to avoid smudging this time by making sure I'm working top to bottom. On my dog, I sort of was going all over the place. And I really like how my cat turned out. All right, tracing the head. And just a reminder, if it's not looking black enough, you could always go back over it. Now you might be asking yourself, Mrs. Vance, why aren't we just using a black Sharpie? We've got one in our kit. Well, your black Sharpie has a nice kind of fine point on it. We want that bold black line that Romero Britto is so famous for, and that bold black line just makes all the other lines and patterns that you have really pop on your paper. So that's why we're using an alternative method for those bingo doppers to get that thick, rich black line. Going ahead, do those eyelashes. And if you notice, as you are outlining, it kind of helps clean up your coloring a little bit. Just gives some nice cleaner edges to everything. So using black watercolor as a replacement tool today. We definitely have to be resourceful in these times, but we've been able to create some fantastic art with the limited supplies that we have together this year. All right, so now I got to decide where else I need to work my way down, outlining the body. I'm doing the tail right now. Oops, I forgot this part right here. Again, if your paint gets sticky, just add just that little tiny bit of water to kind of reactivate it. I think I've added water maybe 3 times during this whole tutorial. And if you're worried about smudging, you can let it dry in between, and you can come back to it another time and kind of work in phases. Oh, interesting. One of the markers I used is resisting the watercolor. It must be a different kind of marker. I'm not sure what I used there. That's also kind of cool. Okay, tracing here. Not forgetting the middle of my legs, making sure I keep it nice and straight. Notice that I'm going back to my paints a lot to re-dip my brush gently. That's just to make sure I have a really nice black line. Because I don't want it to be gray and I want it to be nice and smooth. Let's see, do I need to do it anywhere else? Do I feel like I got everything? I don't know, I feel pretty good about that. because I feel like if I outline this flower, it will kind of ruin this area over here. I don't know. I think I'm good. I think I'm done. If you do want to, you could go in and outline, like, I'll do it every, like, I have some stripes. So you can add some black to your patterns that already exist to kind of make it a further pattern, but that's really up to you. Okay, and then once you are finished, just make sure you really give it a nice amount of dry time. There shouldn't be any wet spots showing. And then we're gonna put it on our Sonia and be proud of our work and show it to everybody else. All right, guys, have a great day.